This was not the video I was expecting to make today, but we have our second Ballistic Test Grounds update dropping tomorrow. That's right, they're actually updating the mode already. Is it a bit sad that I'm surprised? Regardless, this is a massive update with some unexpected changes, such as another new map already. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel to stay tuned into Ballistic updates, as we may be getting more fairly shortly. So in the last update we had for Ballistic, we received two new maps, Hammerfall and Storm Chaser Cove. I thought that was great that we had two new maps, giving us a total of 3. I didn't think we'd see a new one for a while, considering the 2 maps we have are still shell maps. Well, I was wrong. We're getting another new map tomorrow called Cinderatch. Just like the other maps, this is a shell map, so don't expect much detail from the start, but man, I am amazed that we're already getting a new map just a little over a month later. I seriously thought we might not get another one till like the fall. Taking a look at the map and the new trailer, this definitely reminds me of a small town you might find in Europe based on the style. It also kind of looks like it has a slight mixture of elements from Hammerfall and Storm Chaser Cove. The first shot we're seeing here appears to be a little market area with a big fountain in the middle. I'd like to assume that this would be a spawn point for one of the teams, but I'm not totally sure on that. It looks like a dead end area, so I would assume it is just a dead end. Looking at our B planning area, it seems to be a bit of an open area with not a whole lot of cover that I can see currently. There's the big statue in the middle and some crates against the walls of the area. I can't really tell how many ways there are to get into the point B area, but I would assume there are at least 2 to 3 ways to get in, since the other maps usually have about 3 ways to get into the planning site. On this next shot we have, it appears to be a different angle of the first shot we had. I'm assuming this since the green truck is in the same spot as it was in the previous shot we had. So this probably isn't a spawn point, just an area to turn into one of the planning sites. You can see the streets are definitely narrow and don't give you a whole lot of room to run around as you have on Storm Chaser Cove. There definitely seems to be some decent cover here though. You can hide behind the truck, fountain, or possibly even some of the little market stands, but I'm not super sure on those since they're kind of off to the side and maybe out of bounds. This next shot we have is another narrow street, and one that actually has some greenery to it with the trees and the supposed to be grass in the vantage point to the right, but you know, it's not really textured right now since this is just a shell map. Wherever that street is, it can lead you to point A or B, which is nice. I wouldn't want to be the team rotating in from the bottom, as it honestly looks like an area where you can get screwed pretty easily from the other team up top. There isn't too much cover there that I can see as well, so it definitely looks like an area you have to be careful. We also get to catch a glimpse of the A site, another big open area with some cover. I like the little market stand in the center of the planning site. It definitely leans into the little town and market theme they have going on for the map. It also looks decently sized to provide some good cover. It looks like there's a ramp in the back of A as well to provide another way to go in and out of the area. Obviously, another way in is behind the person we're watching in the trailer. Overall, I'd have to say with the glimpses we've seen from the trailer, I'm pretty impressed with the Cinderatch map so far. I'm excited to play it tomorrow. It's going to be roughly the size of Skyline 10, they said, so the gameplay itself should hopefully feel familiar on the map and easy to learn once you play the map a few times. Moving on to some of the new features, we have to go back and mention that in the last update, they mentioned they were actively working on adding a dedicated pistol slot to the mode. Well, with the new update tomorrow, we're finally getting that. The one thing I've wanted since the release of Ballistic all the way back in December, we're finally getting. This means that you can now purchase another weapon rather than just keeping the same sidearm pistol. With that said, the only other pistol you can actually get currently is the hand cannon. So if you'd rather have that than the starter pistol paired with your primary weapon, you at least have that option now, which is better than nothing, so I'm not complaining. I also want to note that the sidearm pistol will actually be replaced for a couple of weeks by the new DL44 blaster pistol. That's right, Star Wars is coming to Ballistic. This change will be reverted back after the Star Wars season ends in Battle Royale, so it's going to be here for at least a few weeks. I think it's a neat little change and should be fun for a couple of weeks. Who knows, this pistol might be a lot better than what we currently have with the sidearm pistol. Another huge change that is one that I've been wanting for a while and is absolutely necessary, especially with some of the Ballistic matches I've played in the last few days, is the option to surrender. Rather than just having to play the whole game out when you know you lost pretty early on, you can finally surrender after the first 3 matches. This was such a needed change. I didn't want to leave the matches and lose rank, but I also knew if I stayed, I was still going to lose rank, and it It just soured the experience overall. So I'm really glad that they're finally adding the surrender feature. I do want to note that if you surrender while playing ranked, you will lose some rank for surrendering. So don't just surrender every single match, you're still going to go down in rank. One last big change with this update, and probably the biggest, is gadgets will now no longer cost credits each round. You heard me right, gadgets no longer cost credits. Each round, you will automatically spawn in with 2 of whatever gadget you selected before the game begins. So, if you pick the recon scanner, you'll get 2 every round. The reasoning for this is that gadgets is what makes Ballistic unique compared to other tactical shooters, and that they want to increase the use of gadgets in general. This is definitely a big change that I did not expect with this update, but one I'm happy with nonetheless. While you'll have to now remember each player will have their gadget every single round, it allows for the playstyle to be changed up and free some economy up. Speaking of economy, they did make some slight tweaks in response to this gadget change, and like I've said before, what's a Ballistic update without economy updates? I mean, you know, they do that every single update. I'll post a screenshot of the changes here, but the general idea is credits gained for winning and losing a round have been reduced by 200, and smoke grenades and flash grenades now cost 300 instead of 200, and one other little change is they increased the price of the burst AR. I guess they finally noticed that it was too good of a bang for your buck. I would always buy that and full shield, so that might change up my strategy a little bit, but nonetheless I'll figure out how to get around that change. Last but not least is some mentioned adjustments to our current shell maps, Hammerfall and Storm Chaser Cove. They've tweaked the layout for Hammerfall a bit in the last Fortnite update, but specifically mentioned some changes for Storm Chaser Cove coming with this update tomorrow. They added a wall between mid and site B to increase the flank time between the 2 areas. They also mentioned that they slightly increased the size of site B and added some more low cover and props to the area. I'm glad for that change, as that site is a bit rough to defend admittedly. They also added improvement and fixes they've made this update if you want to pause the video and read them all here. So we're already getting another major update with Ballistic, which is awesome to see. A new map was definitely unexpected, but I'm really excited to see how it plays out. The changes and features made also throughout this update look like a huge win in my books. I'm really happy to see the early stages of a sidearm slot being added and the option to surrender. Specifically talking about the sidearm slot, I hope within the next update we can get some other stuff besides pistols. It sounds like it's only going to be pistols, but at least we're going in the right direction. But if it was me, I would maybe add a little sidearm shotgun. I think that'd be a cool update. Might go into another video talking about that. But like I said, we'll get into that in a whole different video. The gadgets change is also definitely something interesting in terms of gameplay, but nonetheless, I'm excited to see how it changes up the flow of the game. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to use code TwistedYeti in the item shop, and thank you to our channel members for supporting the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.